Pokémon is an exclusive Nintendo franchise, and its origins date back to the Game Boy. Its creation comes from Satoshi Tajiri, and our goal is to become the Pokémon Master by defeating all our rivals, beating the gyms, obtaining all the gym badges, defeating the Elite Four, and capturing every Pokémon in that region. Something that has remained throughout the entire saga, and even its spin-offs use a similar mechanic to the first games, the first generation. Pokémon Green, Red, Blue, and Yellow. The game is an RPG where we take control of a preteen avatar in a world inhabited by different species of Pokémon that are used to fight each other. Technically, the context of the Pokémon world revolves around these monsters, somewhat like the Flintstones, where the species are a fundamental part of everyday human life. Our hero's original name is Red, but technically you can name him anything, and he is a silent protagonist, which makes him an almost instant projection of the player, both in name and in how he thinks. Something similar happens with Link in The Legend of Zelda, although that character does have a backstory and context. Red, on the other hand, is simply a blank slate to which we give an identity through our own concepts. It all begins with a boy from Pallet Town who lives with his mother. He reaches an age where he can start his adventure in the region, a place that is hostile to people and where we cannot proceed without our tool, a Pokémon. So instead of studying, working, and making a living like any normal person, in this world everything revolves around becoming the best Pokémon trainer. Where do I sign up? Because the outside world is very dangerous. Professor Oak, a researcher and cataloger of the planet's fauna, gives us one of 3 Pokémon to choose from. Besides being a researcher and a famous character, he doesn't have the slightest intention of remembering his own grandson's name. Either that, or the game gives us the chance to name him. Personally, I lean toward the first option. At this moment, our eternal childhood rival, Blue, Gary, or whatever you named him, appears, a petulant kid who believes he will be the master of the universe. Surely at some point in your life you've come across someone like that. We will choose our star Pokémon from 3, Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle. And at this moment we discover that each Pokémon has a different type, being weak against some types and strong against others. Our rival will choose the Pokémon that has an advantage over ours. If we choose Bulbasaur, grass/poison, we have an advantage in the first 2 gyms. If we choose Squirtle, only the first gym is easy, but the second will be in normal battle. But if we pick Charmander, fire, the Pokémon in the first 2 gyms will have an advantage over our starter. But to be honest, the choice was mostly based on which one you liked best, so most people chose Charmander. And so begins an eternal rivalry with Gary, who challenges us to a Pokémon battle, introducing the game's main mechanic, turn-based combat. We have a menu with different options. The first is Fight, where we have different combat options, which can be divided into offensive and passive attacks. Offensive attacks focus on reducing the opponent's HP, while passive ones modify stats, either yours or the opponent's, to tilt the battle in your favor, though we only have 4 attacks at a time, learned through various means depending on the Pokémon. The next option in the battle menu is Pokémon, which allows you to change your strategy by switching among the 6 Pokémon you carry with you. You can only carry 6, and switching costs you the turn battle. Another useful option is Item, where you can use an item to heal your team, get extra stat boosts, recover from a status condition inflicted by your opponent, or if you encounter a wild creature of this universe. You can throw a Pokeball to catch it, but if you throw a Pokeball at a trainer's Pokemon, it'll just be wasted. Our last option is Run, which is very useful when you encounter many annoying wild Pokemon or your team's HP is low, but this option only works against wild Pokemon, because you can never run from trainer battle. All trainer battles happen similarly. When you cross their line of sight, they challenge you to a duel. I imagine something like this, or by talking to them to initiate combat and fight each of their Pokemon. Upon defeating them, they give you money, insert your bullying joke here, and they never bother you again, but since this is an RPG, your Pokemon's levels are crucial. Each Pokemon has an experience level, gained by defeating other Pokemon. As they level up, their stats increase. There are 5 different stats: HP, the life your Pokemon has; attack, the damage inflicted by a move; defense, the ability to withstand an opponent's attack; speed, which determines attacking order; and special, a combination of special attack and special defense, meaning moves that are more intense. It's a bit hard to identify, but these are moves that don't require physical contact, and they appear on Pokémon of any type. A condition that heavily affects battles is a Pokémon's type. In these games, there are 15 different types, each with advantages and disadvantages against others. For example, a water-type Pokémon has an advantage over a fire-type, but is weak against a grass-type. It's very similar to rock, paper, scissors, but with 15 variables. The types are water, grass, fire, normal, ground, poison, rock, ice, electric, flying, bug, ghost, fighting, psychic, and dragon. This has been the core mechanic of the game and has been passed down to all future generations. Each Pokémon can have one or two different types, making battles more strategic, because you could have a very strong Pokémon face a lower level one. But if the lower level one has a type advantage, it will most likely win. Another objective of our game is to complete the Pokédex. In this generation, there are 151 different Pokémon obtained in various ways, and I'm not going to list all 151 Pokémon in this video. If you want, tell me in the comments and I'll make a video about them. I have an idea to make it interesting. To obtain them, we can catch them with Pokeballs, which are bought in shops, using the money we've earned in battles. To make Pokémon appear, we have to walk in tall grass, inside caves, abandoned buildings, or while swimming. Especially in the latter, the battle screen will be overrun with Zubat, Aron. To catch one, we have to lower its HP, but not completely, because then we wouldn't be able to catch it. I think you kill it, but the game says you just knock it out. I don't know, they know the reason. Then we throw a Pokeball. Depending on the damage and any status condition, we'll either catch it or the Pokeball will break. So we might have to use one of the different versions we have, like a Master Ball, which has a 100% catch rate, but the game only gives you one. That's the primary way to fill your Pokédex. But to get the empty slots, you need to evolve them. The main method is leveling them up to a certain point, and they evolve on their own. So the grinding in this game is excessive, spending days just walking and fighting without advancing the story. Another method is using a stone. Some Pokemon evolve with the game's 5 magical stones: Fire Stone, Water Stone, Leaf Stone, and Thunder Stone. These can be found or bought in shops. But Moonstones can only be found in Pokeballs lying on the ground, so there's a limited number. Another way is to complete certain objectives, like reviving a fossil, waking Snorlax from its sleep with a poke flute, buying them, or being given one. These are usually unique in the game, and many are obtained by talking to many people during your playthrough. And the method that makes you start depending on others is trading. Some Pokemon evolve when traded with any person, but some Pokemon are exclusive to each game. So you cannot get all 151 playing alone. You need another person with the other version and a link cable to trade, making each version unique. The different versions have unique Pokemon. In Blue and Red, there are 11 unique Pokemon each, only obtainable by trading with the other game. Though in the original Japanese versions, Green has the same exclusives as Blue, so that also applies to that region of the planet. And there's only one Pokemon obtainable in a special way: the elusive Mew, Pokemon number 151, which could only be obtained by attending some event from years ago, events that never happened in my country. So I always had an incomplete game, leaving illegal methods as the only way to get it. But our objective is not just to catch every Pokemon in the region, but to win against the Elite Four. To access this elite competition, you must obtain the badge from each gym. Each gym specializes in a different type of Pokemon, and our team composition will be very useful to devise a strategy to beat them. To reach the gym leader, we must defeat their entourage of trainers and also solve a puzzle, like finding a switch on the floor that can take hours if you don't know how to solve it. Finally, upon defeating the gym leader, they give us a TM, a unique move from that gym that we can teach to a Pokemon that can learn it, but it can only be used once. Additionally, we unlock some reward, such as Pokemon of a specific level obeying us. Yes, to prevent cheating and receiving a level 100 Pokemon, they put this restriction in place, and the ability to use HMs during our journey. HMs are battle moves that help us clear obstacles and continue our adventure. These abilities let us ride our animal to travel on water, cut down small trees, move boulders, fly to a previously visited Pokémon Center, so we don't have to walk, or light up dark caves, very useful. Though it takes up a move slot, but later in the game you have to use it to see items on the ground. To activate an HM, just go in the menu, open your party, and select it on the Pokémon that knows it. Also, once a Pokémon learns an HM, it cannot forget it, like that kind of information that stays encrypted in your brain. So, it's useful to have one Pokémon that can learn several HMs to avoid wasting others. During your story, you'll encounter this region's mafia group, Team Rocket. Their principle is to capture the rarest Pokémon and destroy the well-being of people and the region's wildlife. Yes, a cliché ambition we all know if you've seen the anime, but there might be some surprises. An important difference between the blue, red, and green versions compared to yellow is that the Team Rocket characters have personalities. Jesse and James are important characters we have to defeat. Another difference is the Pokémon sprites, and that your starter is Pikachu, who follows you around outside its Pokeball. You can interact with it, and you can obtain Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle as the story progresses. But Gary will show up at every corner, making your life impossible if you haven't saved, due to his full healed team. Yellow presents some significant changes, but the same story. Also, the difference between the Japan-only green version and red/blue are the Pokémon sprites, with the latter being more detailed. If we get bored, we can battle another person via link cable or interact with a Nintendo 64 Pokémon Stadium games. You can also use your team in those games or play them directly on your N64, but you need the transfer pack for that. You can also play this game on your Super Nintendo if you have the Super Game Boy, bringing color to your playthrough, or at least a wider range than green and white, the colors of our Game Boy. Over time, these versions became obsolete, so a remaster for the Game Boy Advance was made, called Fire and Leaf Green, which we'll see in the future. For now, I'll just say that for a while they were the only current way to obtain some Pokémon from this generation. And for the 3DS, you can get the blue, red, and yellow versions, featuring wireless communication and the ability to transfer your Pokémon to Pokémon Bank in the future. This would be very useful, especially for the new Sun and Moon versions. Pokémon has been a phenomenon since its creation, so much so that to this day the saga remains a success for Nintendo's handheld consoles, featuring countless urban myths, guides upon guides, and a fan base that continues to consume its products to this day. And if you own a handheld console, it's a rule that you at least give it a look. One of the best games in Nintendo's catalog, one that for many has helped create friendships and was a generational standard for many kids of that era, that is Pokémon. So catch 'em all. I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit like. If you know someone who might like it, share it on your social networks, and don't forget to subscribe if you like the channel. If you have any questions, suggestions, or just want to comment something, don't hesitate to do so in the comments box. Also, if you're a big fan of this channel, hit the notification bell to be among the first to see the videos. Thank you very much for watching this video. See you later.